Hey everybody, good to be here. It was March 2016. I was in Stockholm watching a live stream from Seoul, South Korea. Lee Sedol was one of the world's best players of Go. Go is an ancient Chinese board game regarded by many as the most difficult board game ever to master. The prize was $1 million, and Lee was really optimistic about his chances. There was just one catch. Across the table from him, where a human would normally sit, there was now a computer running Google's AlphaGo AI. And as the games went on, Lee's optimism slowly turned into dread. And as AlphaGo won game after game, it was clear Lee was not bringing home the big bucks. However, almost in reverse, the world's view on what a computer could achieve with AI also changed. Remember, the best computers played Go at amateur level, and this seemingly changed overnight. I remember thinking back to when IBM's Deep Blue beat Garry Kasparov back in 1997, but that was chess, and this is Go. And to give you an idea of the difference in complexity, in chess, after each player's first move, there are 400 possible positions on the board. In Go, that number is 130,000. So what can we learn from Lee's experience with AlphaGo, and what's perhaps the key implication for businesses and maybe humankind? I call it the intelligence expectation. You see, in the past, computers could exceed human ability to do calculation, but now computers can exceed human intuition. And this will long-term drive a trend that we will expect all products and services to be intelligent. In fact, we will come to expect superhuman intelligence from products and services. And you probably already do this, albeit on a small scale. For example, you're used to Spotify Discover Weekly giving you music you enjoy out of millions of songs. If you buy a brand new car, you expect to have autonomous driving or assisted driving options on it. And you have access to the world's information at your fingertips, and we all take it for granted. So the intelligence expectation has many consequences, but one of the key ones is that you need the capability to add AI to every product and service you have. Our CEO, Sundar Pichai, is very vocal about the future we see where AI will drive humankind forward in a way similar to fire and electricity. And I'll give you one example. AlphaFold is Google's AI that solved the protein folding problem. Proteins, as pictured here, are microscopic machines. They're the building blocks of all life, right? And their unique shape, extremely complex, determines how they interact with their surroundings, basically what effect they have on our bodies. And this research could open the door for finding the treatment for any disease. Can you imagine that? But we are still just scratching the surface. Let's walk through some examples of how AI is being used, from the more simple to the more incredible. When IKEA added AI-based recommendations to their site, their average order value increased by 2%, or roughly 2 billion SEK. And that's a lot of money to leave on the table, right? The next generation of customer service is using AI to actually have conversations with customers. And if the customer wants to talk to a human, then the AI listens in on the conversation, understands what's currently being said, searches the knowledge base for that information, and presents it to the agent in real time, creating a more helpful experience for the agents and for the customers. And art and music have long been thought of as perhaps the most human of professions, but AI is being used here as well. Last week, my son drew a pile of drawings for me, and I created an AI that creates new drawings based on those drawings, and you see those here. Kind of Jackson Pollock look-alike, perhaps. Let's get a bit more interesting. We're seeing AI being used to seamlessly alter the face and sometimes also voice of people in videos. This has raised concerns around use in fake news, but you don't have to think for long to realize the potential this has in, for example, film production. And we see Disney investing heavily in this, and they are able to bring back actors for new performances, right? Such as Carrie Fisher as Leia in Star Wars, if you've seen one of the later movies. No spoilers. But if you didn't know that Carrie Fisher was dead, you probably wouldn't have guessed she was an animated character. 3 years ago, we demonstrated AI making a full phone call to a restaurant, making a reservation for a table. 1 year ago, we demonstrated a chatbot AI that could hold a full two-way conversation with a human while pretending to be, for example, a famous author, a planet, a drop of water, or whatever else you can imagine. I could even imagine a future where we could capture the essence of a person so completely, their language, their tone of voice, their gestures, their facial expressions, that you could speak to them as an AI long after they died. Kind of like the portraits at Hogwarts, if you've seen the movies or read the books. But with great power comes great responsibility. And we've seen many examples in the industry where AI has ended up reinforcing negative biases, meaning unfairness, against minorities, for example. At Google, we have a clear set of AI principles and practices that govern everything we do with AI. They're public, and it's something we recommend everyone to consider having. And it's so important that AI continues to be socially beneficial, right? That it continues to be accountable to people, and that we really avoid creating or reinforcing these negative biases. Back to Seoul, South Korea. Lee Sedol lost 4 out of 5 matches against the AlphaGo AI. He will forever be remembered as the human that showed humility in the face of AI, and he did win one match where his human ingenuity shone through. And his performance reminds us of this paradigm shift that AI has created, but also of the possibilities it brings. So I will leave you with a question to ponder these possibilities. Where in your products and services will you be adding AI? Thank you.
Thank you, David.